Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to have heard the previous presentations. So that I think that this will be somewhat a counterpoint to what we just heard. And the title you can see yourself. So here are 4 questions I would like to answer. What is capitalism was a nice question. I'm trying to give my own view on what is entrepreneurship. Should there be more entrepreneurship, especially more entrepreneurship education? Should there be more entrepreneurship education? What are the potential competences? We just heard that before. And do we have a rollout or a model or blueprint for a rollout of more entrepreneurship education if we think it's a helpful tool? So to understand my view on entrepreneurship a little bit better, I go back 25 years when I was in Boston and on a conference of entrepreneurship educators, very early days when the Symposium of Entrepreneurship Education at Babson College started. And we heard a presentation of a teacher from New York. And this teacher took a young girl, 15-year-old girl, with him on the stage and said, please, Maria, tell us what we did in the last school year. And she presented her 2 business plans that she developed with this teacher. One was for what she has seen with her friends, and that was drug dealing. And the second business plan was for a very small web design agency at the early days. And she evaluated also the risks involved in those businesses for her personally. So, getting raped, criminal, killed, whatever, on the one hand side, and building a family, building his or her own business, and a life that leads to somewhat what you would call a good life. And I was so amazed when I talked to the teacher and I said, Steve, whenever you bring this to Germany, let me know. So he brought this initiative, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, to Germany. And that was in, I think, 2025, and I became a member of the research board. And since 5 years, I'm the chairman of the board of the Network of Teaching Entrepreneurship here in Germany. My background is extremely diverse. So I have studied business administration. I was managing director of association, the Gemeinnütziger Verein, for 4 years. So then I became CEO of a venture capital company. So I was completely on the other side. And then I became a professor for entrepreneurship, and my focus since 5 years is entrepreneurship education. So what is entrepreneurship according to how I perceive it? It's very easy, it's very easy, but I think it's a very good way to look at what the EU thinks about entrepreneurship, because they found a definition based on a very broad perspective, integrating financial, social, and cultural aspects. So entrepreneurship is not profit maximization, but it's realizing new business models, new projects in financial, social, or cultural aspects. This is a very European perspective. I like it very much because it integrates nearly whole of the society. So, based on this definition of entrepreneurship, cultural, financial, and social projects, the question is, should we have more entrepreneurship education in German schools? And why is this a good idea? And I'm looking to a British colleague. Marc Casson has written a theory on entrepreneurship 30 years ago, still valid. I extremely recommend this book. And he strengthens one point when it comes to entrepreneurship education. It's not that entrepreneurship education as a whole brings more value to the whole economy. That is maybe not the case. But, and this is the point why I am in education, it's maybe the best way for the underprivileged, for the low-income families to get their part. So when I started, I was extremely lucky. We had a social liberal government in those days, in the 70s, and when I started school. Both of my parents had only 6 or 7 years of school. So today I would be an Arbeiterkind.de. The likelihood becoming a professor was very low. But in those social liberal days it was possible, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Today it's a little bit more difficult. The situation is much more complicated. But still, when, for example, my daughter has an extremely privileged situation. She's studying. A lot of her friends can be a dentist, a lawyer, make an educational career, and they will make their living. So what about those that have not access to the teaching institutions that will make them or enable them, empower them in this society? We have to focus on bildungsferne, low-income, young people because we need them to have a perspective in life. And that's why I think entrepreneurship education is the best way for them. It's very unlikely that they will study law or whatever. But handicraft people, Handwerk, trade, exchange, this is what we have to enable them to become economically self-sustaining. That is the basic idea of entrepreneurship education. So here comes my perspective on entrepreneurship, and I'm a layman when it comes to sociology. So I'm very, very interested in how does this fit from the sociologist's point of view. So we have 3 elements when we look at that. How do we generate wealth? What is our social order? And what are the potentials for the individual? And we have a lot of aspects to integrate. I think everybody agrees that we need more sustainable economic concepts. Today, it's absolutely clear that nobody is arguing for a complete free market. We have a social market economy, and we will have a social and sustainable or ecological market economy with a strong state setting the limits for the individual companies. Even most liberals would agree with that because it's just what we need. We have a democracy that is under pressure, so we have to show that our democracy has a perspective for everybody to lead his or her life. So it's very important that develop the individual potentials of the individuals. When it comes to the social order, democracy is under pressure. We hear a lot about individual freedom or governments that are getting stronger and stronger in a non-democratic way. So the concept that brings it together is the social market economy. Oh, sorry for the typo. The social market economy, and within this model, it's the individual perspective to create his or her own wealth, and that is entrepreneurship. So, economic self-efficacy is something that is not really supported in German schools. We have some schools that are extremely active in that. Most of the schools, and we heard it, most of the teachers are not really familiar with entrepreneurship, not really familiar with the economics. So what is important is to enable the teachers, to enable the students to become productive members of the community. My personal engagement since the last 3-4 months is in Berlin. We have one district. There's Arbeitsgemeinschaft Armutsprävention, so we have a a workshop for poverty prevention, and we're working together to integrate more economic knowledge into the schools of that district. We are looking at a lot of different educational concepts, and one very interesting is called life design, helping the students to develop a perspective that is attractive for them, that is reaching their own goals, what they dream for. And last but not least is that if you want to support the individual, I think self-esteem rises. And if self-esteem rises, the acceptance for the society as a whole is higher. And so we think that entrepreneurship is part of what is called a democratic or democracy education. It's a fundamental aspect for our economy. It's a very old quote, but an empty bag cannot stand. If you want to stand up for your rights, it's easier if you have a productive position in the community as if you're dependent from some kind of financial transfers from the state. They are necessary when you need them, of course. But in order to really express your own democratic perspective, you should be a little bit more independent from the state. The problem is that in most of these families, it's very difficult to get the families integrated. The parents, and I just spoke to our partners from Austria yesterday. I was on a European conference in Kitzbühel 2 days ago. I spoke to the people from Ireland, and they all share that it's very difficult to get the parents involved, although that would be very helpful to get the parents involved. But that is a bottleneck. I talked about this. It is an idea to get the families off the ground. How? That is still something that we have to discuss. The German schools are on their way. Yeah, we will hear more about Schleswig-Holstein in the afternoon. Niedersachsen is a very active state at the moment. But as a whole, you can see it here that Germany is one of the countries that has not delivered data for the European initiatives on entrepreneurship education. So we can improve what we do in this sector. Wrapping that all up, what are the potential competences? I have 5 more minutes, I just learned. Entrepreneurship is a key competence according to the EU for lifelong learning. So let's bring it into teacher education. So that's why this is the perfect place to discuss it. The Pädagogische Hochschule is the perfect place because here we educate the multipliers of tomorrow. Yeah, how to enable our children of the future to develop our economy. And entrepreneurship is one of those 8 key competences for lifelong learning. And it perfectly fits with what we know from business, what you need to develop a company. You need empathy and open-mindedness and curiosity. You need teamwork and your individual contribution. Our children have to learn how money and interest relates. There are so many YouTube spots about fraud, about all people cheating in the economy, and the young would like to get more education to understand what's going on with the money and all this YouTube and people selling on Instagram. And we need sustainability and parsimony, so that means not spending too much, but being careful with our resources. Yeah, the planet has just a certain type of resources. And it absolutely integrates what the World Economic Forum has termed the 21st century skills. And these are no future skills. Yeah, we see a lot of books calling this future skills. No, these skills are needed today, not in the future. Our children need that today. It's the data literacy. We have to understand that, of course, data are of high value. Businesses are built on data today. Yeah, so how do we do with that? We want data protection here in the EU, fine, but we have to know that data are crucial. Yeah, we want critical thinking, and of course we want a certain kind of leadership. So let me answer the last question. Do we have a blueprint? I'm running out of time, I'm sorry. I think we have this. The EXIST program of the German government 20 years ago brought entrepreneurship education to the universities. We have 150 shares of entrepreneurship, a lot of startup incubators. What we need is a program for the schools now. School education is state law in Germany, very complicated, 16 states. Wow, this is really difficult. If you're interested in learning more about the network of entrepreneurs, teaching entrepreneurship that we are working for 16 years here in the different German states, I would be happy to answer that. And I'm very happy to be here and discuss all kinds of questions with you. Thank you very much.